Greetings. I'm Erika James, Dean of the Wharton School. Welcome to Beyond Business. Our session today is called Race and the Selling of America, where we will explore how industries are reconciling their complicated history with marketing brands through Black culture, and why now is the perfect time for Black influencers to use their voice to incite meaningful change. Today's panelists will discuss how brands can work with the Black culture in a way that benefits both companies and the Black community at large. I'm thrilled to be joined today by three remarkable guests. Philip Sun, President, Managing Partner, and co-founder of M88, a representation firm amplifying the voices of artists and creators. Kirk Morrison, football analyst and former NFL linebacker. And my Wharton colleague, Professor Emeritus Reed, who will be our Q&A moderator for today's discussion. Kirk, I want to start with you. You began your career as an NFL linebacker for the Oakland Raiders in 2005, and now you're co-host of Forward Progress, a Sirius XM program that explores the intersection of sports and racial equity in America. What events or experiences led you to want to lend your voice to this important issue?
Wow, it's a great question. First of all, thank you again for having me, Dean James. It's a privilege to be here to join you guys. But I think I wanted to lend my voice for many different reasons. I think because, like you mentioned, I was a former player, came into the NFL in 2005, and it was a time in which, voices really weren't heard by players, right? Your job as an NFL player was to go out and do your job. And if you didn't do it, or you did things outside of the realm, it was kind of a situation where a lot of people or a lot of players felt that you were easily replaced. And if you're easily replaced, that means that, you know what, I'll probably just be quiet. But I think I'll go to, this Memorial weekend, this past Memorial weekend, 2020, Memorial Day weekend, I think changed for a lot of people in our country because of George Floyd and the murder of George Floyd, and everybody saw what happened. It became an awakening, I think, for a lot of people outside of the sports world, but within the sports world, it was something in which a lot of athletes who look like me, we'd seen in our neighborhoods, or we're constantly in fear of, which is the police. And we saw protests, we saw marches, we saw people reacting. And for myself, not only was there forms of protest, but what else could I use to get the message across, or for people to hear the message or listen? It was lending my voice, finding a platform. And my platform, I'm very lucky that and blessed that Sirius XM had a platform for us to talk about these issues with race, equality, gender, all of that, everything that we've been seeing over the last 4 to 5 months. I call it the awakening, but that's what kind of led me to say, you know what, I want to use my voice in a different way. The NFL, the sport in which that I played, is the most watched sport in North America. Everyone watches the NFL. But I think there's also a lot of players who wanted to lend their voice, but didn't have the avenue. They didn't have the platform. And so that's what I tried to do, is give people, players, former players, executives, coaches, a platform to use your voice. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump into this world of broadcasting and getting the message across. That's probably one of the biggest things that I've done so far in 2020.
Thanks for sharing that. And Philip, relatedly, in August, you launched your agency M88 to promote non-white talent, including actors, writers, directors, and producers. Prior to that, you were a partner at one of Hollywood's biggest agencies, William Morris Endeavor, where you represented artists including Michael B. Jordan, Idris Elba, Naomi Scott, and Rihanna. What motivated you to leave your successful career at such an institution to launch your venture?
Well, I think, again, like Kirk said, thank you, Dean James, for having us. it's an honor to speak to everyone here. What motivated me was, the agency, the Hollywood industry, and the systems that have existed. Let's speak specifically about the agencies. They're phenomenal. They're a perfect marketing machine, but they also have limitations as far as the ability to evolve as far as inclusion and diversity goes. And my partners there, we've always worked on promoting actors of color, talent of color, creators of color, and we pushed hard and as far as I felt that we could go within an institution that was built not for people necessarily that look like us. So, with the birth of my son in December, my perspective completely changed. Obviously, with COVID, for the first time in 15 years, it gave me a chance to actually pause and think about what the next, 10 years of my life would look like. And I felt that, I had done everything that I felt like I could do at the agency in order to push inclusivity and diversity there. And the opportunity to join with my mentor, Charles King, who had started Macro, a production company studio that promotes multicultural content, to start the representation arm felt like the perfect fit. And through M88, it was time to kind of build a representation firm that was Black-owned, minority-led, and built on the principles that we had been pushing within the system. It just got a little bit tiresome feeling like diversity and inclusion was, a policy or a program or an afterthought or a reaction. We really wanted to build a firm that had those principles at the core, so you don't have to push for them. They're just there. They exist. And we all know through companies and corporations, when you build the culture and the mission at the very beginning, it travels through for the lifespan of the company. So it just felt with all of those variables, it was time to build it.
Well, we certainly know that both of you are doing remarkable, and really pleased for your leadership in really important industries.